This is the Barbados Today afternoon news for Thursday, April 5th. Thank you for joining us. I am Mary-Claire Williams. The Caribbean Tourism Organization has become the latest regional entity to announce plans to capitalize on digital currency. The CTO has entered into an agreement with blockchain technology company BITT to facilitate payment for tourism products and services. CTO General Secretary Hugh Riley told a press conference this morning that the move could also contribute to further integration of the region's economy.
Every time we embrace new technology, we look at possibilities which some of us can't even anticipate at the beginning. So we know that the collaboration which our MOU will allow will open doors. It will allow us to question things. It will allow us to question each other. We already have a number of questions which have been raised by our research department here at the CTO, and they're anxious to see how the MOU can lead to answering questions about visitor spend, following the way the money is spent, following the way that the tourism dollars permeate all sectors of our economy. So we believe that this MOU between the Caribbean Tourism Organization and BITT will open doors that will benefit the member countries of the CTO as well as the Caribbean public in general.
The parent company of First Caribbean International Bank is pulling out of Barbados and the rest of the Caribbean. Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce has decided to sell its 91.5% shares in the regional operations in the North American market. Director of Corporate Communications in the bank's Barbados-based subsidiary, Deborah King, confirmed the move, but she says First Caribbean is staying put. She added that CIBC is not critical to First Caribbean brand's presence in the region in the long run. Private sugarcane farmers are calling for an urgent meeting with government and other stakeholders to reach an agreement on pay for the 2018 crop. Chairman of the Barbados Sugar Industry Limited, Mark Seeley, told Barbados Today he's hoping that the talks will be held soon. The request comes on the heels of Finance Minister Chris Sinclair's statement earlier this week that while farmers would be paid outstanding money before this year's sugar harvest begins, government now has to find money to pay them for this year's crop. Seeley says he still needs to understand the true situation regarding payments for the 2016-2017 crop.
Also, we need to understand the price that we are going to receive for cane. In other words, when you deliver your canes, normally over the last many years, you would receive, you know what your average total price would be, and you also know how much you will be paid up front. In other words, once you deliver a number of tons of cane, you receive a week later, you receive an agreed amount of that average price. Last year and for the last few years, we've actually received $80 per ton, and the average price was $160 per ton of cane, total average price. So we received 50% upfront.
Seeley says he's also concerned that the crop still has not started due to non-payment, and he says any further delay could adversely impact output and quality.
We have had a bit of burning of cane. I don't think it has been as significant as some have suggested, but obviously if the crop is more delayed, then that would be a factor. Because if you get burnt cane, you don't get them into the factory, then that is a big challenge. You lose that cane. So it would be important all around to start as swiftly as possible so we don't have that risk of cane being burnt. Yeah.
Sports now. Barbados are the winners of this year's regional under-15 title. They beat Guyana by 4 wickets at the Kensington Cricket Ground yesterday to secure their second consecutive title. Jaden Leacock top-scored with 47 and Neymar Bolden made 42 to share a half-century second-wicket stand to put the Bajans on track for victory. Guyana, meanwhile, made 206 for 9 in 50 overs. In other matches, Windward Islands beat Jamaica by 5 wickets at Sabina Park, and Leeward Islands scored a 5-run win over Trinidad and Tobago.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
Thank you for staying with us. We're back with news from the region. Guyana's Public Security Minister, Kemraj Ramjatan, says there is no need to take away the weapons of the country's servicemen after a high-ranking soldier shot his wife to death on the weekend. We get the details in this report from HGP Nightly News.
Minister Ramjatan deemed the shooting to death of Riona Payne of Haslington, East Coast, Demerara as unfortunate, while adding that joint service members must be more civilized when handling domestic disputes. Police say that the special assistant to the chief of staff went berserk and opened fire on Payne after the two were involved in a heated argument. The weapon used was his service pistol. The minister further noted that while there will be a need to revise training in this regard, he does not believe that a drastic decision to seize service weapons from joint service members will solve the issue.
You know, one swallow doesn't make a summer. This was an obviously bad situation. And what's the logic behind the question there, that we take away the service revolver of all policemen? Cannot be. We have a situation whereby we're going to trust what's going to happen out there by our policemen. They're going to use it in accordance with the rules of engagement. That was obviously not the rule of engagement.
Minister Ramjatan further noted that some introspection may have to be done to prevent these acts of domestic disputes in the future. He said for policymakers to make this move, it will put serving members of the joint service at risk and compromise their personal security.
As to whether now we take away all service revolvers, then when the true criminals come to attack them, what do? They don't have a weapon on them? Or, you know, walk around with their weapons? I don't know. But in any event, I am certain that the police are going to investigate, and I'm certain that the GDF too will cause a major investigation, as I think has started.
The Chief of Staff has ordered the Inspector General of the Guyana Defence Force to conduct a board of inquiry into the circumstances surrounding the incident. The GDF sought to assure Guyanese that Captain Sandy's action does not mirror the image of other soldiers.
In more regional news, 2 Guyanese men have been arrested for attempting to smuggle birds into the United States in hair curlers. Police say the men were apprehended at the John F. Kennedy International Airport on Wednesday and charged with illegally smuggling finches. 26 birds were found stuffed in curlers and placed in the men's socks. The men were identified as 72-year-old Victor Benjamin of Brooklyn and 57-year-old Insaf Ali of the Bronx. They were released on $20,000 bond and face up to 20 years in prison if convicted. On the international scene, Brazil's Supreme Court today rejected a plea from the former president Lula da Silva to avoid prison while he appeals a corruption conviction. The vote is likely to end his political career and deepen divisions in the country. Lula could begin his jail term within a week. We get more in this Reuters report.
Lula had asked to stay out of prison while he appeals a corruption conviction. He was found guilty in August of accepting bribes worth more than $1 million and handed 10 years in jail. In January, an appeals court upheld that sentence and increased the prison term to 12 years. But despite the conviction and 6 separate pending corruption trials, Brazil's first working-class president remains its most popular politician. A crowd gathered outside his Sao Paulo home late on Wednesday to show their support.
We are on Lula's side today, protesting in the street and fighting for democracy.
The country remains deeply divided after Lula's successor, Dilma Rousseff, was impeached and removed from office amid a corruption scandal and economic crisis. Lula is the front runner in opinion polls for the presidential election in October, even though his conviction means it's unlikely he'll be able to run.
And that's news this afternoon. Remember, there's more on our website, www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. We're on Izumi Media in bus terminals and on Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also find us on Mix 96.9 FM. I am Mary Claire Williams. Good afternoon.